Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Eccentric, the makers of the K-Box and the new K-Pulley. Guys, flywheel training's really grown in popularity of late, and although it's something that's been around for a while, the simple reason that it's grown in popularity is because it works. We've been lucky to have a K-Box in our weight room for the past 3 years, and we've seen some really great things when it comes to improving the athlete's ability to change direction, and then looking at our return to play protocols with different lower body injuries with the student athletes. The love-hate relationship that everyone has with the K-Box is now just going to grow more with the addition of the K-Pulley. The ability to do standing presses, pulls, rip-throughs, and knee drive exercises is just going to be another arsenal to our training and another addition to the love-hate relationship that our student athletes have with the awesome tools that come from Eccentric. Go ahead and hop over to eccentric.com today to check out what they have. Guys, I can't recommend it enough, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed, not just with the products, but with the awesome customer service that Eccentric provides. Hey everybody, if you enjoy the podcast and the content that it provides, make sure you hop over and check out the all-new Strength Coach Network. The Strength Coach Network is the combination of the CVA SPS community and the Rugby Strength Coach community, bringing you what is sure to be the internet's leading resource for continuing education for strength and conditioning professionals. Combining these two resources has allowed us to bring some of the best content from some of the best minds in the world together for your one-stop shop to better improve the continuing education for not just yourself, but your entire staff. Bringing together all of the lectures from the Rugby Strength Coach community, along with the lectures exclusively done for the Central Virginia Sport Performance community, and all the lectures performed at the Central Virginia Sport Performance Seminar, make this an absolute must for performance coaches around the world. The world-class lectures at the Strength Coach Network are not all that you'll see as well. The discussion in the forums and the support and the career guidance from some of the top practitioners in the world, from people all over the world, makes this an absolute must and a great place for you to network, learn, and grow as a performance professional. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com and use the code CVASPS, that's CVASPS, to get your 48-hour trial for only $1. We're sure you're going to find great value in the Strength Coach Network and are really excited to have you involved. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com and use the code CVASPS to check it out today. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today, guys, I have the absolute pleasure of getting to sit down and discuss in-season training with the San Jose Sharks' Mike Potenza. Guys, after a quick little rundown of how Mike got into the league and down there in San Jose, we start right into discussing the evolution of Mike's training program. This includes, how he moved to this year-long developmental model, how he programs things, including, what blocks and what their focuses are at different times of the year, and how this alters and changes, and they look at different things from VBT on out when it comes to how these guys progress throughout the NHL season. We then start talking about evaluations and what he's looking at in the guys, how he's looking at it, and then who gets access to that data so that they can make sure these athletes continue to progress. He then starts talking about warm-up and how what they do every day before practice really is the backbone of his training program, because it checks so many boxes, not just to make sure the guys are ready for the day, but also in the prehab recovery and strengthening aspect of typical issues that you see with hockey players. And then, guys, we get into travel, and Mike talks about the role of nutrition and things of that nature when it comes to these massive trips that they have to take here in the Western Conference. I mean, they're looking at 2 and 3 time zones, and that's within their conference on these trips. So Mike's got some interesting things that he looks at and things that he does nutritionally with his guys in order to make sure that they're best ready to play the next day. And then finally, guys, we get into talking about, supplements and nutrition and what Mike is providing for his guys and the reasons why and what he sees as the most bang for the buck stuff that people should be doing. This is really an awesome talk, guys. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Let's get right to it. Mike, thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited right now for this one. Let's get everybody caught up a little bit here, though, Mike. Let's let them know, who you are, where you're at, how you got there, and we'll rock and roll from there.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So this will be a long one, I guess. But I went to Springfield College. Got my exercise science degree from there, and then I went right to Boston University for my master's. And after BU, I took a part-time job working for a great guy, kind of like a big brother to me. It was Sean Hayes at Harvard for a short time, and then took an assistant job at Colgate University for 4 months, and that was from December '02 to April '04, I think. Oh, excuse me, April '03, and then I went to University of Wisconsin for 4 years and won a national championship there with the men's and women's hockey team. Met Jim Schneider, who you know really well, and who connected us. And I left there for an opportunity in San Jose 13 years ago now. Actually, it still blows my mind how long we've been out there, my family and I. So I guess that's the short version of it. But along the way, man, I've been blessed to have meet a lot of great people, have a lot of great mentors, and have a lot of good experiences along the way. And Springfield helped out with that. They really pushed you to do things in the summertime and do extra internships and get more experiences. And then I did just that. And that's how I met Glenn Harris at BU, and which parlayed into a graduate position. That's where I met Mike Boyle. And I was at IPI before it became API. Met Mark Verstegen and Brandon Marcello, who's a tremendous friend and mentor. And then I was at the University of Miami my senior year with football program. My senior year at Springfield was our second semester was all our field work. So that was the class that went 11 draft picks. They won the national championship the following year, and then they had all those guys. They had Ed Reed, they had Santana Moss, they had Brian McKinney, they had Dan Morgan, they had Clinton Portis. So that was a tremendous experience for a young guy like me to get early on in my career. So.
And then what a letdown to go to Snyder.
Yeah, he's actually. I actually recommended him to the head coach. I was like, "This is the only guy you got to go for." So, and he came back. I think his car was already packed.
That's awesome, man. So then you got you're in St. Louis right now,
Yeah,
competing against a former podcast guest,
yeah,
and you left Wisconsin to head down to San Jose, California, to which now you've been really spending a
yeah,
lot of time working on how you handle these guys in season.
yeah,
And it's a long season. I mean, it's like
yeah.
this is going to air late June, so people get the understanding. It's mid-May right now. 10 to 11 months of the year, the National Hockey League is in season.
Yeah,
So let's talk about this, since this has kind of turned into like your baby, like what you've been doing and building down there.
yeah,
Let's rap about how Mike handles those guys and how things roll.
yeah. So, the kind of epiphany came to me like about 4 years ago, and I don't know. I guess I'm kind of embarrassed to say it took me that long into my time in the NHL to be like, holy shit, like this in season is more critical than you think of just maintenance, And that never really sat well with me. And then because I came from the college ranks, and it's like we get to plan. You got an off season 1, you get an off season 2. You got these kids all the time, and the competition is not so condensed that you have to worry about 3 games in 4 nights or 5 games in 8 nights, and the travel. So I was like, man, I lost that opportunity for an off-season program because 90% of the guys have their private strength coaches in the summertime anyway, So I really put more value and interest into the in-season model that we've kind of put together. We start our in-season program right in training camp. So I have the luxury of having guys pretty much 4 to 5 weeks for a prep leading into the preseason testing and training camp, which is nice. I don't know how many teams have that. So we get a chance to finish off the summer where I want the guys, and then we roll into our in-season. And we focus on 3 things, Jay. It's speed, power, and strength. So those are my blocks. Those are my blocks that I'll run through based off of Isrin's residual training effects table to say, okay, how long have we gone not hitting this quality? And then we make sure that they're programmed within the schedule. Even if we're on the road, generally we definitely try to get that training session on the road, but sometimes it just acts as a download week for us anyway,
Yeah, so that's interesting to me, and kind of thumbing through the presentation again. So my concerns whenever we start getting into residual training effects, especially in season, is how the players physically handle it.
Hmm.
So when you're looking at that with the guys, like soreness and things of that nature, now I realize, because once upon a time I was pretending to be a hockey player, like there are individuals that are of a different mindset. So how does that work with the guys? How do the boys handle that when it comes to, well, we might not have to do some aerobic work for a few weeks, and now all of a sudden we got to throw it back in, or some max strength work, or whatever that may be.
Yeah. Addressing the aerobic side of things, we don't do a lot of it in season, because getting them on the bike for a longer period, or getting them to train for that extended period of time, whatever format you want to do, whether it be, interval-based aerobic work, or just getting on a piece of equipment and going steady. We don't do a lot of it. We do more of that type of work in an interval format with our healthy scratch guys, the guys that aren't in the lineup a lot, right? But based on, we have an on ice day, which is basically a skill day that kind of acts as our aerobic work, which is pretty cool because the coaches are listening now. I have the coaches' attention to say, every coach says, I want to be fast. I'm like, okay, well, we can't do a drill for 30 seconds and want to be fast. Like, let's break it down. Let's just go strictly 5 to 8 seconds and let's be explosive. And they're starting to learn, they're starting to listen, I should say, which is kind of cool. But the time when the guys really feel it, Jay, is when we do max strength work, right? So when we have those, I have a workout that we put in. It acts as a test, right? But more of an evaluation. So we do it every month. So it's a 3RM on trap bar and 3RM on bench, right? So those are our max strength, our strength-based numbers that I can give. And we also do jump testing. We do a vertical jump on the Just Jump mat. We do a 4 jump on the Just Jump mat. So that information will go to our GM and coaches, and we track it every month. So we have some testing base to see how much we've fallen off since the beginning of the season, right? So a little easy eval we can grab, periodically. But when we do that max strength work, or we're around there, I used to do it all year, but the second half of the year, I'm like, man, I'm flirting with fire. We have some guys trap barring, 400, 450, close to 500 at times. And I'm like, I don't know if this is safe at this time of year, and I don't know how much bang we're getting back for our buck, right? So what I did was, first half of the year, we went a true 3RM, strength-based measure, and then I used the GymAware to measure velocities. So then I took the velocity in the second half of the year and said, okay, I want to be around here at this certain velocity and not get to 0.3, 0.2 meters per second where the loads are going to be really high. We just hovered around 0.6, 0.7, got some load under us around the 60 game mark, and I thought it was beneficial. Guys were still hitting their speeds relative to what they had been doing at the heavier loads in that kind of velocity profile. So it's a safer way that we kind of attacked it. We haven't seen in my 3 years now, or 4 years now of doing it, we haven't seen any drop off in terms of those jump score numbers, which to me, I want to see more. I want to see power outputs that don't decrease throughout the year, and we've achieved that.
That's awesome. Now, how do the boys respond to that? Because I know that at times, going from the meatheady stuff to now, it's like, well, I'm moving less weight, but you want me to do what and why, and how is this working
Yeah.
together? So, how is
Yeah.
that sale especially with some of the vets you get to work with that,
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure have their methods and thoughts of how
Yep.
they should do things.
Yeah. Good question. When we're in December and January and hitting heavier loads on the trap bar, the guys are like, "Oh, geez, here we go again, trap bar." So it's, but they know now, like, okay, we're gonna go lighter and we're gonna go for more velocity type work in the second half of the year. So they're comfortable with it now. They're used to it. One thing, we do have a lot of regressions and variations to everybody's needs. I remember when I worked in college, we had a freshman sophomore program, and then we had a junior senior program. So I tiered it a little bit because you have guys for 4 years basically at that level, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to have a little bit of change for those old upperclassmen who have more training age than the incoming freshmen, right? So for our older guys and guys who don't frankly trap bar well, guys who don't squat well, guys who have history of low back pain, guys who have a lot of compensatory patterns, I'll change the exercise, and then I have to make note of that in my kind of monthly report to see where everybody's at, so there may be a guy that, for our goaltenders, we may do a skater jump or a lateral jump, right to left leg, so to mimic them pushing across the crease and having that explosive ability to do that. But that's more functional to them, and they may not do the four jump, the elastic four jump. So.
And now, how do the boys sit there and take those progressions and regressions too? Because again, I mean, you're also dealing with different animals. Like
Right.
the North, the Western Hemisphere hockey player may have a mildly different mentality than the Eastern Hemisphere hockey player.
Yeah.
Did I say
Yeah.
that nicely?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you're very PC. You're very PC on that one. There, it's been really good. I think guys appreciate. All right, Mike's taking into consideration what I need. What I can do, what I can't do, and I'm not forcing square pegs into round holes. Like if I always say to myself, okay, if somebody came up in the gym who I'm really close with and I respect, and okay, what would they say about my workout? And if they see a 6'6" hockey player who's got a short trunk and long, lower limbs doing a trap bar and it looks ugly, then I shouldn't be doing it. So we have to find, because that guy's making a lot of money, playing a lot of minutes, and has to get through 82 car accidents just to get to this spot in the playoffs. So we have to adjust, whereas some guys, maybe they won't, but I do.
Yeah. So then let's talk about those 82 car accidents, because for some of those guys, it can be a toll. So
Yeah.
then, what are these things that you're seeing throughout the year? Where are these progressions and regressions moving positively and negatively? And even more so, where are some moments where Mike sat there and really started to dive deeper because he noticed something with player X or player Y?
Yeah. A cool thing that I get a chance to do and I've done since I've been here is I handle. I'm like the second stage of rehab, and reconditioning. So our head athletic trainer and our athletic training department takes care of all the initial care, doctors, all that, so setting up surgery and whatnot, and then they come to me like week one, pull up with Potenza, doing all different kinds of, whether we do range of motion, um, neuromuscular reeducation, and then getting them back to the strength training mode of all the other healthy limbs or areas that they haven't hurt. I get a chance to do that, which is great, so that we can really boil down into specifics on each guy. One area that over the years I don't cut any corners. You're going to get a pass from me if you played 30 minutes one night and you're beat up and we got to work out the next day. You'll get a pass. What I don't give passes on is warm up. Like, you have to be upstairs for our 15, 18-minute warm up. And there we're addressing mobility, we're addressing activation stuff commonly, like everybody does, I guess, and then any locomotor patterns. But that, Jay, is where we can solve a lot of problems, right? All the sports hernia, sore groin, sore low back, cervical issues, I address in that time for everybody. And it's a blanket program. Everybody does the same thing. If by chance when we do our movement assessment or our movement profile that Kevin Nealed, when he was working with me and us last couple of years, he put together, and it's really dialed in. And I love where his thought process was going, because then with that, we know what specific guys need. We can do extra work to fit their needs. That's just one more layer from a mechanical standpoint that guys are getting what they need.
Yeah, and again, now the more that you're able to show them, you're providing them specifically what they need. Again, the buy-in starts to continue to improve, and
Yeah.
these guys are
Yeah.
more apt to be in with what you're asking of them.
Yeah. And knock on wood, like, over my career here, we've always been the top three least man games lost, right? So I take pride in that. There's a couple other layers that go into that figure, but we're always there. And I really think by the time we spend doing warm up, or the time we spend in our prep work, it solves a lot of problems. Knock on wood, we don't have a lot of sore groin or groin pull issues and low back issues and things like that. So it's just the contact stuff. That's the nature of the game. I can't undo that.
No, 1,000%. They can try to change all these rules to make it less of what it's supposed to be, but at the end of
Right.
the day, even that guy in New York City is not going to take that stuff away from the NHL.
No, it's not. It's not.
So then let me ask you this, because again, these 82 car wrecks that these guys play, and then you guys have had two series go to Game 7.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, jeepers! So now you're at 100.
Hmm. Yeah.
You're traveling all over the country. I mean, the Western Conference is it's kind of like the Big East in basketball, right? It's like, yeah, the Big East, but it's got
Yeah.
Milwaukee,
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
but you're in St. Louis, which is the Midwest.
Yep.
So that's a two-time,
Two time zones. Hmm.
yes, trip.
Yep. Yep.
How you handle that with the boys? How does these travels, this jet lag, hydration, nutrition?
Yeah.
Because I know that nutrition is one of the buckets that you carry very well.
Yeah.
Um, how's all that handled? How's that impact? And what's Mike working with his boys to make sure they're prepped to go get them tonight?
Yeah. So when we travel early on, Jay, like 3 times early on in the year, we'll do blood work, right? As an intake at testing at training camp. Then we analyze what they're deficient in, what their food intolerances are, and all a real detailed blood panel. And we do it 3 times a year. Kind of check the levels 3 times a year. If we could do it more, that'd be great. But it's just between the scheduling, you can't. So based on that, everybody has a specific plan of what they should take for what we offer from a nutritional standpoint, from a supplementation standpoint, in terms of vitamins. Um, that helps us when we travel to make sure we're topped off and all the tanks are full. One thing from some research that Carl Val exposed me to in 2015 when we had our Stanley Cup run, he showed me the gut. If the gut is in order before you travel in different time zones, you'll acclimate faster. So I was like, all right, this is pretty interesting. So we really kicked up, and I'll share that with you when we're done. But we're going to kick up our probiotic intake. We're going to find a real good source, a well-tested source of probiotic, clean source, safe source, and I give that to the guys daily. We have our nutrition trunk that goes and with us, and everything's all set up on the road. And then when I plan the meals, I plan every meal for our team. I don't on the plane if we're doing team meal or if we're doing a pre and post game meal. So we'll try to get some probiotic or gut beneficial foods in there for the guys too. The other area we changed a long time ago was we don't leave a time zone after the game, so we'll stay an extra night because on the back end we gain time going back to San Jose, but we got to load the plane. That takes an hour. We get to, and then if it's cold, then we got to de-ice. That takes another hour. So we found by staying in that same time zone, and a gal I connected with as a consultant is Sherry Ma. She was educated at Stanford, and now she's at UCSF in San Francisco. So she's tremendous. She's brilliant, and she's helped us out a lot. And by staying overnight, it helped us coming back on the back. We wouldn't get to our original time zone or our Pacific time zone too early, whereas we would be dealing with acclimating there. We just went in the day before. So that's been a huge help for us.
It's so simple, it just might work.
Yeah, you know what? It was crazy because in 2015, I showed our coaches. I was like, look, we literally our record from Central and East Coast coming home that night, and that first game back at San Jose, we were 1-6 before the playoffs. And then I was like, look, this isn't working. We should probably stay the night. Consulted with Sherry. Let's stay the night and see how we do. I shit you not, 6-0. Like when we stayed that night and played. So that gave it. But when you tell a coach that, you're like, I'm asking for a day off just to fly, and then we got to come back and play. So and that was hard.
Sell.
That was hard. But the selling point was like, look, we can get to morning skate. We'll have everybody at the morning skate on game day. I know it's not a practice, but at least gets everybody moving. And it just kept working. So that's kind of how we changed it up.
So I guess then the question that I need to piggyback off that is, do you feel like it was more beneficial to sleep and spend the day, or was it more beneficial that the boys had an extra day off and could recover the full day and then play?
Yeah, great.
Or
Great point.
yes, both.
I guess yes to both. I think what I would say though is that guys don't sleep after games anyway. They're so revved up. We have guys going to sleep at 2, 3 in the morning just because their nervous system's all jacked up, as you can imagine, and for whatever caffeinated drinks they're drinking beforehand. So when we're in that city, guys are still going to go to bed at the same time. However, they can sleep in a little bit longer when we're not practicing the next day. They can sleep in longer. They can get breakfast, and then we can fly. Now, when we used to fly out that night, they maybe slept on the plane, woke back up to get in their car and drive home. So it was really a broken sleep pattern. That was, and then we'd be at the rink the next day for an 11 o'clock practice. So even for that, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I think that broken sleep pattern too probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So then let's keep running down that nutrition rabbit hole because I think that that's something that even us in college can learn a bit more about. When you're rolling around there with your nutrition trunk,
Hmm.
and there would be buckets that you think that everybody should fill, what would Mike Potenza tell people that like if you don't have X, Y, or Z,
Hmm.
you're missing the boat, and this is why.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to start at hydration. I think Matt Nickel with his product, and again, I'm just a user of BioSteel. I don't, and a friendly endorser of it because I know all the energy that Matt put into that product and the research that he did prior to that. But for our group, we do need some sort of robust electrolyte solution to give the guys that's not based in sugar. And Matt has a tremendous product out there. Drip Drop is another thing that we use for our guys who sweat a lot because we're losing from anywhere from 4 to 8 pounds of liquid of water weight from the guys based on heat, based on pad weight, and all that. So Scratch is another one out of Colorado that we've been using. It's actually a good flavor. So I would say you got to have your electrolyte. You got to have a plant-based source of protein recovery, and a whey-based source. Now, based on our blood work, we know who has some sort of intolerance to whey or whey protein. So we're managing body composition changes, and those who have to manage it wisely than a plant-based source of whey protein, which is great. So cool. And then what else we got in there? I think glutamine's been well researched for a while. There's a lot of good tested products out there. We use a Thorne NSF glutamine that I think for tissue repair and gut health has to be in there. There's definitely no doubt about that. And then I'm not a big fan. Over the year, I would say I don't use a multivitamin anymore for our group. I use a multi-mineral, which is kind of critical because, as I mentioned to you before, Jim Laval has been a big influence on what I'm looking at for our guys and how to replenish our guys from what the energy expenditure is and what the metabolic side of that we do all the time. So a multi-mineral is becoming more valuable for us because we're so when in those blood panels, Jay, what we found is like guys are always deficient in mineral counts, and that's because we're anaerobic animals, right? During a game we are, during practice we are, and we're constantly training 2 to 3 times a week, so we're gonna have a lot of cost there. So I want to put back magnesium so they can sleep. I want to put back magnesium because it's one of the most important minerals for conditioning and metabolic work that you do. And we've seen through that blood work a lot of minerals be low. So a multi-mineral has been the best one for me to have. And then again, vitamin D is critical. Vitamin A along with your omegas is going to be critical for brain health and recovery and inflammation management. So those are my big rocks.
I love it, and I wouldn't have thought of the minerals
Yeah,
as much, but I mean
it's huge.
it's
It's bigger than you think.
oh yeah.
I would tell you magnesium is the new vitamin D. You know how in the last 4 years, like vitamin D, everybody's like vitamin D, vitamin D. That's completely true, especially for our guys who have lower than normal testosterone because of bad sleeping patterns and maybe overtraining and flying and sleeping late and all that kind of stuff. But magnesium should be looked at as vitamin D, the new vitamin D. It's really critical. especially with sleeping patterns. We have a contract with a local float company, so an Epsom salt magnesium float tank locally that guys have been going now for the last couple months. Tremendous, helps them sleep. They come back in, they're like, Potenza, I slept unbelievable. Yeah, I'm like, because you're absorbing it through your skin. It doesn't have to pass the gut barrier. But that's been great. I travel with bags of magnesium salt on the road so guys can take a soak in the hotel room. So,
Well, and I think a lot of that dermal stuff is going to start to be shown to be more and more important, and people are going to start doing more and more of that as well.
yeah, yeah. More products are coming out like that too. More lotions and topicals and things like that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, Mike, this is absolutely sensational, brother. I can't thank you enough for your time. And it just,
Yeah, I'm glad we connected, and thanks for having me.
yeah, man. Well, listen, this is going to be up. It's July, the week of July 1. And hopefully we get another text or call here in the near future saying congrats and go do your thing,
Yeah,
brother.
that'd be
And
great.
truly appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work out there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We'll be in touch real soon. Thanks.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. And a huge thanks to the San Jose Sharks, Mike Potenza, for spending the time with us today. Guys, let me just open, honest, candid sharing from Mike there, getting into the weeds a bit when it comes to not just what he's doing and evaluating, but also like how they're feeding their guys, what they're doing with travel. The whole idea of spending the extra night and using that as a recovery day is huge. I mean, obviously, it's been something really successful. So I can't thank Mike enough for being so open, honest, and candid with his sharing today. This was awesome. So, Mike, keep up the awesome work, brother. Truly appreciate everything you're doing, and can't thank you enough for your time. As always, guys, if you did enjoy the talk, please share it through the social media outlet of your choice, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. As always, we're just trying to get the best information out there to all the great coaches that we can. And as always, guys, thank you for everything that you do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We will be back next week with another awesome guest. We will see you then.